Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation, and another installment in our top 10 countdown list.
And today we're covering our top 10 Pokemon movies.
Yes, now that we've watched every Pokemon movie up to date, and we've seen the entire series, it's finally time for us to share our favorite films from that franchise. But
before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and notifications for some future podcasts and World Pause videos.
Yes, thank you so much for subscribing, sharing our videos, commenting, and helping us on our journey to reach over 2,000 subscribers this year. As always, we appreciate everything you do.
Yes.
So, as there not to be a debate about which is the best and which is the worst, or where they are on our list, we're going to tell you in the order of release.
Yes.
And then you can decide out of these 10, do you agree, or which are your favorite and which aren't.
Right.
So with that, and because I had to say goodbye to Ash.
Yes. Moment of silence.
Yes. Let's honor him with this top 10 countdown.
Yes.
The first movie is
Pokemon, the first movie.
Released in 1998, fantasy adventure film, and it was actually the first theatrical release in the Pokemon franchise. And the plot takes place during the first season of Pokemon Indigo League.
Right. And this was a huge deal for clearly everybody, not just for Pokemon fans, but anime fans and just moviegoers, because who knew that this would start an entire franchise of films, and to this day is considered one of the best Pokemon movies ever made, because it really took a darker storyline in here. Even with it being slightly edited in English or than the US audience, it still was a pretty dark storyline, having a Pokemon that was made in a lab wanting vengeance on humans. It was the first time they had done a storyline like that.
Yes, it was the first movie that explored cloning, genetic modification, and existentialism, believe that or not.
Yeah, seriously, it's in here.
So this movie was released in English and other countries on November 10th of 1999 by Warner Brothers Pictures. It had a budget of $5 million, and it grossed over $172 million. And that's why we had a slew of other films. This ran only 75 minutes.
Right. But we really want to recommend it to anybody, just in case you haven't not seen it yet.
Yes. The second top 10 is Pokemon 2000.
Yes, which is actually one of my favorites.
And mine too, because Team Rocket helps to save the world.
Yes.
As we mentioned, this was 2000, but released in 1999.
I guess it was the future of Pokemon.
Yeah, and it was actually a theatrical release with a budget of $30 million. Now that's 6 times the budget of the first one, and it grossed $133 million.
Yeah.
It should have stuck with the $5 million.
Right. I mean, why brought to success? And with this one, the storyline followed Ash attempting to save the world protect the world from devastation himself. There's supposed to be these 3 legendary Pokemons that are in this battle, and they were supposed to be prophesized to destroy the world. And Ash uses the Pokemon, I think it was Lugia, I think that was the name of it, and to use it to save the world and to stop them from causing natural disasters all over the globe. And of course, one of our absolute favorite parts is that Team Rocket decided they were going to work with Ash and save the world.
Yes, and also in here we had Ash with Misty and Tracy, but no Brock.
Right, I think that was during that time where they didn't have Brock in the series for a season. So I guess literally the second season.
Yeah, unfortunately.
This is when we started having a movie after every season of Pokemon.
Definitely. Our third movie choice is,
believe it or not, Jirachi Wishmaker.
Yes, this came out in 2003. It was the 6th theatrical movie released in the Pokemon franchise.
Right.
And it was accompanied by the short Gotta Dance.
Yes.
Now this one ran 81 minutes.
A little shorter.
More than the first one, and a little shorter than the second choice, I should say.
Yeah.
And this one grossed 4.5 billion yen box office, but we have no idea how much money it took to make it.
Yeah,
it's just smart and stop telling us.
Right. And for this one,
now this was distributed by Miramax Films instead of Warner Brothers in the English language.
Yeah, isn't that interesting to learn? And for this one, I believe it was taking place during the Pokemon Advanced batch of seasons or series where they had May and Max. And in this one, they find the wish-granting Pokemon Jirachi. And, of course, this is when they start having a bunch of the evil Pokemon poachers or captors something want to use their power for personal gain. And interesting enough, this is like the original version of Wish. And it's like the better version of Wish, to be honest. They did Wish storyline first, technically, and I'm gonna be honest, I'd rather have this more than what Disney gave us outside of concept art. And I want to buy this plushie. I want to buy a Jirachi plushie.
Yes, because I believe he can make my wish come true. Star. Okay. I want to give a shout out to the cast because right now we've got Veronica Taylor as Ash. Yes. And we've got Eric Stewart as not only Brock, but also James.
Yes. And they're doing two voices.
And we still have the late Rachel Lillis as Jessie. Eric Stewart also voiced Bogey.
Oh my gosh.
And Absol.
Bogey.
And Meowth was voiced by Manny Blaustein.
Yes.
So I wanted to give a shout out because we hadn't yet. And right now is when we had a cast that was staying.
Right.
Until we get to
later one.
Yes. So our number 4 movie choice is one of my favorites, Lucario and the Mystery of Mew.
Yes.
One of my favorite Pokemon movies and one of my favorite Pokemon.
Yes.
This was released in 2005 and
I think it was it 2005?
Yes.
Okay, I want to make sure.
It had a runtime of 101 minutes.
Well, say what?
So this was a very long movie.
Yes.
And it stars the voices of some heavy-hitting Japanese voice cast. It was released in theaters July 16th in Japan.
Right.
And it actually came out on DVD very quickly the same year, that December.
Oh, wow. It must have been a high demand for it. And for this one, this actually began the new trend of Pokemon movies where the central focus Pokemon of the film was able to speak with Ash and the cast.
That was so cool.
Right. And first you have Mewtwo, but if you notice for a while, up until here, you didn't have any Pokemon that really spoke to anybody. But now, from this point on, every Pokemon spoke to Ash, whether it was telepathy or they could really speak. And this one had a really interesting storyline where he was supposed to fulfill a quest he had from his original master from centuries ago, is the way they make it seem like, and you see it completed in here. Because Ash looks like his old master.
A couple things important to point out. The English dub of this movie premiered in the U.S. for the first time at a San Diego Comic-Con.
What? No way.
Yes, and in the U.K., it actually premiered on Cartoon Network.
Oh my gosh, okay.
And the events of the film take place during the 8th season of the Pokemon anime. And last but not least, Lucario is Shadow.
He's the Shadow
That's probably why I love him so much.
Right? And then we have at number 5, Ranger and the Temple of the Sea from 2006.
We didn't expect this one to be one of our favorites.
True.
But it ended up being one.
Right.
And in here we have Ash, we have Pikachu, May, Max, and Brock. So we had a big cast. And then we had the Pokemon Ranger named Jack Walker.
Yes. And his mission was to deliver the mythical Pokemon Manaphy to an undersea palace.
Who's so cute.
Right, while evading mercenaries by the Phantom Pirate. Phantom the Pirate. Good grief.
And I kept saying, he's so cute. It's like...
Yes.
Roscoe was like, okay, I know. He's cute. He's so cute.
You're right. And the biggest thing I remember from here, not only was this a big storyline that was different from the others, but the thing that stood out to me the most, and everyone keeps making fun of me for it, is that Ash gained Aquaman powers. He became Aquaman at the end of the movie. Like, how? Why is he Aquaman? But I loved it. He just became suddenly Aquaman.
Now, we loved it, but this was the first movie that got mixed reviews from critics. And it was the first one to air on Cartoon Network in North America.
Yeah.
March 23rd of 2007. And it was the first Pokemon movie not to be dubbed in English by 4Kids Entertainment.
Oh my gosh.
But instead by the Pokemon Company International. And we know how that ends up later on.
Right.
And the events of this film take place during the 9th season of Pokemon.
Yes.
And he's so cute.
Oh my gosh, he's so cute. And then we have at number 6, Zorak, the Master of Illusion from 2010.
And this was the first movie to really get me bothered because of the hunter and torturing of the Pokemon.
Yes.
And although this movie is one of my favorites, I really didn't like that part of it, and it became, unfortunately, a long-standing element of future Pokemon movies.
Yes, and they had some before this, but what we liked is that every movie had something different from the last. It wasn't always the same villain. Sometimes the villain was a Pokemon. Sometimes it was a human. Sometimes it was some other cosmic figure. It was always something different each time. Sometimes there was no villain. It was just a misunderstanding or trying to get to the end of a story. Mm-hmm. But for this one, this, as you said, marked where we kept having poacher after poacher after hunter after poacher. And it was hard to watch these Pokemon be tortured, especially the Zorak one, because we know it's constantly one with a parent and child as a duo most of the time. So seeing the mother or the child get hurt constantly was like, I don't know, I guess they added to the conflict, but it was just like, please stop torturing them so much.
Right.
But that being said, it was a really great storyline. It was one of the more darker movies like the Mewtwo one, and it had a good payoff by the end where we were really engaged the entire time.
Definitely. Now, this had a shorter run time of 95 minutes. And it grossed $71 million at the box office. Again, they're no longer telling us how much it takes to make the movie.
Right.
And this one we had Ash and Dawn and Brock.
Yes.
And again, I love the ending of the movie where Zorak tricked Ash.
Yes.
But this is a lovable Pokemon. And it's the 13th theatrical release in the franchise and the 4th and final film in the Diamond and Pearl series.
Right.
So this one has a special place in the Pokemon franchise.
Yes. And then we get to number 7, which is a Pokemon Black and Pokemon White, which was
Victini and Reshiram and Victini and Zekrom.
Right. And it was a pretty brilliant idea to do dual movies.
Yes, absolutely.
In 2011. And this one, it was sort of like
it's actually 2 movies.
Yes, it was 2 movies telling one story. Mm-hmm. And it was a great idea, however, it went a lot different than we expected. Basically, they had these 2 Pokemons that one stood for, was one for justice, I think. One stood for justice, one stood for vengeance.
Very few have
and
ever seen
the idea is that you have to find the truth on which one is the best outcome. Mm-hmm. And we thought we were going to get like a different turn of events depending on which Pokemon Ash was choosing to work together with. Mm-hmm. But when we saw it, aside from them dealing with that one Pokemon and calling it out, it was the same movie. And we thought it was going to be like same movie, but different outcomes. Like the choices were different. The outcomes were different depending on what he chose. And we loved that idea. We just kind of wish that it was a little more. But it was still exciting to watch.
Definitely. And again, it's one of our favorites. And this is where we started seeing things being depicted over thousands of years.
Yes.
Knowing that these were ancient Pokemon.
Right.
And in this one, we got to hear one of our favorite voice actors ever, J. Michael Tatum.
Yes.
And I knew him immediately. It was like, hey, J. Michael Tatum, are you sure? Yes. It's J. Michael Tatum. And
that was such a shock.
And in here, we also got, as you said, 2 different sides of the story still, even though it was the same story.
Yeah.
But one was told from the version of each Pokemon that it represented. And in here, we had Ash, Pikachu, Iris, Silent, Jesse and James, and Meowth.
Right. This is from the Black and White season or
Correct.
Best Wishes.
And we know that that's not some people's favorite season, but this dual movie has become one of our favorites.
Yes. And then we go on to our 8th film, Curium versus the Sword of Justice from 2012.
Yes. And this was directed by Kunichiro Yuyama and written by Hideki Sonoda. Different writer and different director. It's the 15th animated installment of the Pokemon film series. And we got to hear Vic Mignogna.
Yes.
We were so excited when we heard Kurian was Vic Mignogna.
Right.
That just made our day.
Right.
This one had a runtime of 71 minutes. And you can tell that the box office was starting to go down. This one only earned $46 million.
Right. And the plot line for here is that they sort of had this group of Pokemon that was supposed to protect nature. And Curium was supposed to be, I guess, the newest member of the Swords of Justice. And their job is to travel the world and protect people and Pokemon in need of help. So I guess a little Pokemon superhero troop. But the thing is, Curium really didn't know his place in it.
Right.
He wanted to be part of the group, but he really had a lot of self-doubt. And they had, was it Kaleido, I think was the name of it? They think that Kaleido was going to cause a danger.
Right.
But there's another danger going on in the background that ends up being the main conflict. And the one downside to this is that it's the shortest movie out of all of them. It's only over an hour.
And we didn't understand why.
Right. And this was at the theaters, not on TV. It was more of a TV movie than a theatrical film. Now, the plot was still interesting, but it went so quickly.
7 more minutes.
Right. By the time you really get into it, when you looked at the timer, the movie was like nearly at 10 or 20 minutes left, and
Yeah.
there wasn't much time to develop more of the story. We just kind of wished it was longer.
And here we had Ash, Pikachu, Iris, and Cylon.
Right.
And again, part of the black and white.
Right. And this is when we stopped having Team Rocket really be involved in the storylines in the movies, because they were
Very
having
true.
them be more serious.
And we were very disappointed when that happened, because you gotta have Team Rocket.
Yes.
So our number 9 pick is
Detective Pikachu, the live action movie from 2019.
Yes, and this was the first live action movie made by the Pokemon franchise. It looks like it's going to be the last. We don't know if they were disappointed or upset of how well it did
I don't know.
outside of Japan, because you would think with this movie being so successful, they would have made another one. It had a runtime of 104 minutes. The budget was $150 million, so it was the biggest budget that we know of to date, and they actually told us about.
Right.
But the movie grossed over $433 million.
Right. It was a really big success. People loved it. They were excited because everyone was trepidatious, because we know how these live action adaptations of anime and especially video games go, where they're just like horrendous. But this, before we had Sonic the Hedgehog, before we had Super Mario Brothers, before we had Minecraft, we had Detective Pikachu. And this was the first one to finally do a video game movie right and be majorly successful. And if it weren't for this movie, you wouldn't have Mario and Sonic and Minecraft and these other video game adaptation movies. This broke the curse, and now we have hit after hit after hit. And nobody could believe, one, how good this was,
Right.
and two, how successful it was. And it was just a storyline not even based off anything from Ash or the main group. It was an entirely different game, entirely different main character.
With it looked like the target audience being the West.
Yes. And Ryan Reynolds voicing a Pikachu and teaming up with a human to find his dad.
Justice Smith.
Right.
As Tim Goodman. And
Right.
you still had Akui Otani as voicing Pikachu.
Right,
which
which
was
was
crazy.
yes, love that. And it was really this ongoing mystery, which if you've seen that Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie, it's that story, this storyline done better. So really, we just can't believe it's been 6 years since this movie came out and no sequel. We should have been had one by now.
Yeah. Interestingly, Rachel Lillis was Jigglypuff.
Oh,
But this is definitely one of our favorites. We didn't want it to be honorable mention because it is considered part of the franchise and a legitimate movie.
yes.
And basically, we forgot to mention this film was based, loose adaptation of the 2016 video game of the same name, Pokemon Detective Pikachu.
Right.
And we can't wait for another one. The most information we can find is that they claim there's going to be a sequel in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2023, in March, it was announced that Jonathan Crystal would direct the sequel and that Chris Galleda would write the screenplay. And that's all we've heard so far. They said it would still be through Legendary Entertainment, but at this point, we have no idea what's going to happen.
Right.
And it's really disappointing.
Yeah.
And our last, but not least, favorite in the top 10 is Secrets of the Jungle, especially Rascal's favorite, released in 2020.
Yes.
Dada.
Yeah. Otherwise known as Coco in some places. Like I said, yeah, you have to change it because it would sound like that Pixar movie.
But I loved it. I kept saying, I love how he would call him Dada.
Yeah.
Dada. And he was his son. And it was the prequel to Sonic 2, and Sonic 3.
Right? Yes. So for this one actually ended up coming out on Netflix because at the time it was of the pandemic.
Right.
So unfortunately didn't get to release in theaters, so it released on Netflix later that year. And to our surprise, it actually was really, really good. Especially it's taking place during this alternate timeline where Ash doesn't meet his usual friends in the series. He's kind of by himself the whole time.
Which is
and
really
Pikachu.
strange for us.
Right. And this one is basically Tarzan with Pokemon.
Yeah.
And this human is being raised by a Pokemon group called Zarude, which I guess their version of apes. And to me, I actually did like the idea of Zarude in this movie because I really like their designs. I like how they have them in their own little place in the jungle. It wasn't just being Tarzan. It was still telling its own story, but you could tell they heavily borrowed from it. But I really like the idea of the Zarude in general. And I kind of wish that they use them again later, whether it be in the games or the shows or something. I even like that they got their own vine whip powers to swing on trees and everything.
Yes. Now there's some interesting things that came about with this. This featured the new generation 8 mythical Pokemon, as we mentioned, Zarude, and a shiny Celebi. And it was actually a sequel to Pokemon the movie The Power of Us.
Oh, okay. Part of that universe. Okay.
Right. It ran 100 minutes. It was released worldwide except for Japan, Korea, and China on Netflix. It did release at the box office in Japan in December with a box office of $23.6 million. And interestingly, we had, of course, a different cast for Ash, we didn't mention earlier, Sarah Natachini.
Yes.
Pikachu still voiced by Ikue Otani.
Mm-hmm.
We had a different Jessie and James and Meowth. Jessie being voiced by Michelle Knotts.
Mm-hmm.
James and Meowth being voiced by James Carter Cathcart.
Mm-hmm.
We did have Dr. Zed in here being voiced by Billy Kametz.
Oh.
And Sharon being voiced by Michelle Ruff. So they had people that were voicing characters that were not part of the Pokemon. You told me they usually have a voice. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, usually they have a dedicated cast, and it seems like it changes out after so many seasons or years.
Mm-hmm.
So we already had a new change for Ash, but these were new additions, I guess, just for this movie.
And another thing is this film returned to traditional 2D art style rather than using CGI animation.
And you can tell.
From Mewtwo.
You could tell because one of the best parts really is the animation. It looks fantastic. It looks very colorful. I love how they designed the jungle. It looks really vibrant, especially when yes. I just really love the art style and the designs of everything in this movie too.
Absolutely. So there you have it, our top 10 list of our favorite Pokemon movies, again released in order of release. What do you think of our list? Let us know in the comments. Are any of these your favorites? Or do you have a different top 10 list? If you do, type it below. We want to know what your favorites are. And
if you haven't already, subscribe for updates, spooky videos for anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely. And this is a great way to close out our Pokemon coverage. This is our final Pokemon month.
Yes.
And this is our final Pokemon podcast because we sure in the heck aren't doing Horizon anymore.
Yeah, we did try. I don't care for it. Sorry.
Now, if they bring Ash back, or they have a Jessie and James sequel,
right,
or something like that, then we'll be on it. But
or the spinoffs, yeah.
Yes, but this concludes our Pokemon journey. It was a great one. Thank you so much to Sylveon and Sean Shinigami Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
For encouraging us to watch it. It has been a joy throughout the entire time of us watching. It took us almost 3 years to get through the entire series and the movies and the spinoffs and all the things that come along with it. We even tried reading the manga, but
hard to find the one with Ash in it because we see so many different versions.
But here's the thing that I thought was interesting and I didn't know, that Satoshi Tajiri is the creator of Pokemon, and Satoshi is the name of Red in the manga. So he named the character after himself.
Oh, I actually didn't know that.
I didn't
That's
either,
new to me.
and I thought that was really interesting to find that out. But thank you for joining us on our journey. You have watched so many of our videos, with some of our Pokemon videos getting in the 5-digit numbers.
Yes.
So thank you so much. And if you have some other Pokemon spin-offs or books that we don't know about, please let us know in the comments so we can read them and enjoy them as well.
Yes.
And last but not least, thank you so much for subscribing, sharing our videos, commenting, recommending, everything you do. We love you guys so much. As always, you are special.
Thank you so much for watching Masculine Entertainment.
And Mom Entertainments.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.